promised to sweeten his health care plan, we want to show you how people are really feeling in this country. Take a listen to some recent town hall meetings.
You have a bill, and we have a lot of them, that are 1,000 pages. We divide up the bill. We have to make judgments very fast.
We have to make judgments very fast. We have to make quick judgments.
Why is it off the table? No, not in a minute. I want an answer right now. Why is single payer off the table?
This guy's illiberal, apparently.
Why single payer is off the table? I'm not leaving.
Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, and the rest of the people in Congress and the Senate, are they going to be willing to be on the same plan they're asking us to be on?
Over 10 years, it would create a $6 billion surplus. So,
look at it.
It's important. It's important that we all listen.
Something to say to your constituents, sir? That's all? Stop spending our money. No cap and trade. No to cap and trade.
This is amazing. In my lifetime, I haven't ever seen anything like this. I know the left dismiss a lot of these people because, you know, they don't understand actual grassroots. It's all community organized for them. But a lot of these people are people who have just never done this kind of stuff before in their life. Bringing back now senior judicial analyst and author of Dred Scott's Revenge, Judge Andrew Napolitano. I'll explain why we brought the judge in for this here in just a second, because you had a wild experience this weekend. But I've talked to people, listeners, who have told me that they went to some of these town hall meetings, and some of these people are not even allowed to ask questions. I mean, they're just being lectured to. This is not a good scene.
No, this is not a good scene, and I think it's the tip of the iceberg. You know, before I was here, was on the bench in New Jersey, and thus you're intimately involved in the government. I have never seen anything like this. I've never seen the size of the crowds that we're going to talk about later, which is very positive, and I've never seen the depth of the anger in these crowds towards well-established public figures. That first tape you showed was Arlen Specter, Democrat, Republican, Democrat. He's been a senator for 30 years.
Did you notice the other guy was saying, why is the single payer option off the table? That's obviously a progressive.
Correct.
That is also, and this is what I warned against when Obama was running. I said, this guy is painting himself as the Messiah. The media is helping. He's making all of these promises. If he doesn't do these things while promising, hey, it's a whole new era, I'm a different kind of politician, they're going to be outraged at this guy.
I think Mrs. Pelosi may have as much problems with the hard left amongst the Democrats in the House as she does with the so-called blue dogs, and I don't know that there's any common ground between them.
How do you piece this back together, Judge? I am so concerned that there are anarchists and crazy people on the left and the right, and you keep disenfranchising people, then have the media ignore their voices, then have the politicians go out and meet with them, and they say, you can't even ask questions. We're not taking any questions. Or sit down, be quiet, I'm going to tell you the way it is. Somebody, God forbid, it will destroy the republic. We'll tear each other apart.
You are doing a great service by exposing all of this. I mean, you put that liberal fellow on there saying, why is single payer off the table? I want single payer. This guy wants Medicare for everybody. You and I don't want that. The free market doesn't want it. The Constitution doesn't allow it. But you're giving him a voice that his own member of Congress didn't want to give him.
It's unbelievable. All right, I want to show you some pictures that also the national news media is not going to show you, that you need to see. Coming up next. This weekend, and I want to show you the pictures of America. This is what the press apparently reported as a couple hundred people showing up for a rally. Well, do we have the video? Well, that could just be 2. There it is. There's a couple hundred people for a Tea Party. The police are saying that it was 8 to 10,000 people. But I didn't see this anywhere. I didn't see this anywhere on the news. You were there. You spoke.
One of my producer said that there was an article in an Ohio paper saying Judge Napolitano from Fox News spoke to 300 people. Now, the police themselves told me 8 to 10,000, and I saw the crowd. It was enormous. It was enthusiastic. It was happy. It was concerned about freedom. Glenn, I talk to them as I might talk to law students about where do our freedoms come from? Do they come from God or do they come from the government? They were listening to every word, and they understood the significance of it.
I have never seen America like I have seen it now. These are not jingoistic flag wavers. These are people who may in the past have been jingoistic flag wavers and just had kind of a faithless tradition in America, but now have done their homework and they are hungry for the truth. They're hungry for the truth about the Founding Fathers that's never taught in school.
You know what they understand, and you mentioned it earlier on in the show. They understand that this is not a Republican versus Democrat issue. They understand that there is a Republican version of big government, which is dangerous to our freedoms, and a Democratic version of big government, which is dangerous to our freedoms. And somewhere, we all have to be pro-freedom. We're entitled to a government that stays within the confines of the Constitution, no matter who's at the head of the government.
I'm afraid that not enough people in Washington listen to these people, take them seriously. The media dismisses them, and they are growing in numbers. They are growing in numbers. On just a Saturday, 10,000 people will show up in Columbus,
85
Ohio.
degrees heat and about 95% humidity. So somebody was making a fortune selling bottled water. And I was the last speaker. So they stood in this weather, including a downpour, for an hour and a half before I got on. Wildly enthusiastic. Very big fans of the Glenn Beck Show, I have to tell you. I must have signed over 150 copies of Common Sense.
Really?
The Glenn Beck Common Sense.
Well, it's very flattering. And Judge, I have to tell you, I'm glad that you were there because you understand the Constitution, and America needs a good lesson in it again, and they're hungry for it.
Thank you for having me on to chat about it.
Okay, now, what can you do, and what can you do to help? Next.